Back in 2001, when we first began working with Gary Gygax, he pitched this wonderful series of books to us. He called them the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds, and what he envisioned was this encyclopedic set of books for role players, writers, game designers, the whole lot of us, that we could use in making our games, creating our adventures, writing stuff for publishable content, whatever it may be. And there was really no end to what he envisioned this series to be. We eventually published The Canting Crew, The World Builder, Living Fantasy, 7 volumes in total. We had another 3 that were ready to go to print, another 3 or 4 after that we were working on. So the series was really open-ended. We are bringing these back. That's what this Kickstarter is. We've got 7 books online ready to be printed. We've got another 3 right after that we want to get it minimally out as we were working on them at the time. Those will be out definitely in PDF, depending on how well the Kickstarter does, and maybe even more than that once we kind of push beyond the necessary stretch goals and all that mess. But welcome to the what we're calling the Gary Gygax World Building Archives, and please give us your support. Share it around if you can. Pledge if you can. Whatever you need to do, whatever you can do for us and the memory of Gary Gygax, we very much appreciate it.
Trollord Games. Join the fray.
How many times has this happened to you? Here I go writing a new tabletop adventure, and oh god, there goes my world building juice. Look no further than the World Builders Archive for like the next 2 days. These 10 books are free range and non-GMO. They're grass-fed, purebred, Red Dead. Redemption. Every cowboy in the West has a hankering for these books, and you can only get them on Kickstarter for 2 more days.
Is that all then?
My wife left me. But with the World Builders Archive, I can put my wildest dreams to paper. Like the one where she didn't get the antique bird feeder in the divorce. Read 'em, eat 'em in a salad, tape 'em to your shoes, and reach for the stars. The World Builders Archive is here to make you a god of your own multiverse. An angry god. The World Builders Archive on Kickstarter. It'll help you write good. How many times has this happened to you?
Trollord Games. Join the fray.
Oh, hi. Hello. How's it going? Haven't checked, but are you setting up YouTube so we can hit these readings as set based on story? So we have the recordings. We're thinking about maybe doing like a special recording of all of this for YouTube specifically, so that it might be like a nicer type of like recording. Also, hi, welcome in everybody, welcome in, hello, Wolf Alone, George, Phantom NJ, welcome in, Casualty, hi ho, welcome in, Plaid Rocker, Aerox, welcome in, Mortal, thank you for lurking, always good to see ya. How are y'all doing? Also, is the sound okay? I know it might sound a little bit echoey in here. Just under 4,000 to go. I know, dude! Okay, here's the thing. Let me grab the link really quickly. Just in case, you know what I mean? Just gonna grab the referral link because holy shit. Very exciting. I think that I believe in my heart of hearts that we can make it today. I really do. I suppose we'll see. But I think that we can do it. How are all y'all doing today? It's lovely to be here. Lovely to see ya. I want that book 10. I know! Oh man, I'm just now looking back at the fiction for tonight and realizing that it didn't keep my place. Let me just... Okay. There we go. Okay, found it. Ryan Matthews, welcome in. Hello, hello. Did you color your hair? I did not. Maybe it's the red on the headphones. I do need a haircut. But thank you for asking, my friend. Did y'all have a good weekend? We had a good weekend. We went out to the Smoky Mountains and like got to drive around and hang out. It was awesome. Did you get to see the eclipse today? So not really. Like I saw it from my window outside, but like it was a super cloudy day. There was supposedly like a 90% eclipse to be seen in Tennessee. But just with it being so cloudy, it did get darker. It was really cool. I know you're not supposed to look at the sky. I was intensely looking at the sky for like changes. Blaze made a friend who weighs 3 pounds. 3-pound friend. That's so sweet. If there's an opportunity for Blaze to wear his new friend on his back like a backpack, that'd be really, really sweet. The books are too late. I'm finishing up writing my new world tonight for session 0 on Wednesday. Always either late or early. Hey, you know what I say? It's never too late to be like adding and refining stuff. I did so much adding and refining when I was running a game, but I hope that your players enjoy. Congratulations on like finishing everything up in time for your session. It's going to be awesome. Did you manage to escape the Concred? I didn't. I was sick on and off for like a week or two. I think like 2 weeks. But I mean, I can't hardly complain, you know. I think a lot of people had it worse. How about yourself? Did you make it out to Gary Con Phantom? If you did, I don't think we had a chance to meet. Weekend here was crazy. 12 plus hours of high winds with frequent gusts up to about 100 miles per hour. Dude! The little kid in me just wants to like take a kite outside in that. There's something about really high winds that has always like mystified me. I think it's like really great. It's just exciting. The sky go whoosh. My friend in Texas is a photographer. I'll drop his pics in Discord. Yes, please. Yes, please. We drove down to the Path of the Totality. Got a great show. That's awesome. I've seen like some pictures coming out and it seems like it was a really great like just thing to watch, you know? I did. Man, okay, awesome. I saw you in passing and down at the TLG booth briefly. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I'm so sorry. Definitely next time. I would love to shake your hand and say hi. I'm sorry that I missed you. Tiny friend is in Discord. His name is Luca. Well, just check real quick. I know that we have something to do today, but anything can wait for a very small dog, you know? If Discord opens. I suppose it won't. Hang on. Let me just look at this real quick. Oh my goodness, they're friends. They're so cute. They're babies. Masks and gloves and not shaking hands is the only way to beat the con crud. Yeah, just beat it before it sets in, for sure. Cons are just a giant petri dish of ick. I definitely wish that I'd worn a mask. I think that really would have helped, for sure. And I don't want to get other people sick, you know? I don't think you recognize me. I did end up on stream with Stephen Davis, Chuck, and Lord Gazuma. Man, I wish I'd had a chance to, like, watch the streams that were being streamed. I was running around so much that there wasn't a chance to like sit down and like watch any of the live streams despite really wanting to. I only went to the TLG to see Grace and Emily. We're the brains of the operation, you could say. Just kidding, it's all Emily. Manaki, thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for the lurk, my friend. I went to the vendor booth to see if there was anything I didn't already own. The booth looked great, but alas, nothing I didn't already have. That's so fair. I mean, not all of, but a lot of stuff sold out in like the first day-ish. Wish I could have made it to Gary Con, but everyone I know who went got hit with pretty bad con crud. Yeah, dude, speaking of Emily was sick, man. Zach and, I mean, just not to air their personal business, they got sick, you know? It sucks. It super, super sucks. Like, it was such a great experience. The con was awesome. We had so much fun. We learned a lot. It was a really, really great opportunity to be there and definitely worth it. But, like, man, we paid for it with our health. The only water, Jay. Hello, hello. Thanks for coming in. How are you doing? I'm doing very well here. Like Marmorial Tomb. We were both so upset after we couldn't give you the one copy that we had left, my friend. I'm sorry. I promised Blaze and Trouble would be friends. Luca is evidence. Little tiny curly friends are Blaze's fave. I wish. Here's the thing about Trouble. He really is not friendly with other dogs. It sucks. Because then I look like the biggest asshole in the world because somebody will walk by with their dog and I kind of like, you know, have to put myself in front of Trouble or like whatever. And I look like I'm just being overprotective of my small dog. But like, it's like, no, I'm worried about your dog. And especially if there's like a pit bull or like the sweetest little like bully breeds, because then you know that the owners are thinking like, oh God, there goes that bitch, like afraid of my dog. I'm not. I'm afraid for your dog. I don't want my dog to get growly or, God forbid, like bite them. Man, oh man. I've talked to Steven about having more stuff go directly to the store as opposed to being part of Kickstarters. Yeah. That'd be nice. The Kickstarter has this is my first Kickstarter experience with TLG, and it's definitely been interesting. Bye from Australia. Looking forward to being able to hit YouTube for some aired history at some point. Hell yeah, dude. Looking forward to putting some aired history on YouTube. That'll be awesome. But alright, just relax and, well, hell yeah, dude. Are y'all selling copies of the Marmorial Tomb? We are. They're available in our store right now, and we'll definitely be bringing boxes to cons. So yeah. Don't get me wrong, Kickstarters are great for the big stuff. Oh, hell yeah. And there's a lot of like big stuff planned as well. Very exciting. Really, it's going to be a really big year for Trollord. Without saying too much. Hey, Storyteller, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow, my friend. William, hello on Facebook. Thanks for stopping by. Well, here's the thing. I know that we technically... my headphones just died, which maybe doesn't matter, but... Actually, I guess it doesn't. I don't need them. Because I'm not pushing out any sound that I have to listen to. Virtual tabletop compendiums would be awesome for the adventures. Ooh, yes. I believe that folks are working on those. We've got like the Undying War going up in chapters. Do you mean like compendiums of the full like stuff? If you're out of fiction, read mine. I would happily read yours. We gotta definitely make it through the Pools of Dunhollow because it took so long to get here. We're very, very excited about it. Podcast time, have fun. Hey, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you stopping by. Let's see here. I missed out on the Kickstarter. It is still up. Oh, do you mean the Marmorial Tomb Kickstarter? That'll get you. Okay, so today we are continuing to read through a brand new manuscript. The first draft was just completed, so we're reading a first draft. Direct from Stephen Chenault to my mouth to you. And it's excellent so far. This is The Pools of Dunhollow. This is a novella. It's like 21,000 words. And this is a continuation of the story of Yurik and Ava. So Yurik being, of course, a paladin and knight, Ava being his ranger friend from the Darkenfold. And the two of them are going to the Dunhollow pools in hopes to find what they need in order to rescue a friend of theirs who is kind of trapped but sort of in the care of a dryad after being mortally wounded in a storm. So they're on their way into the Dunhollow pools. They have just gotten into a very bloody fight with a group of bandits that were pillaging and murdering inside of a village near the forest where the Dunhollow pools are. I also didn't really care for this eclipse thing today, just not my thing. That's so fair. I wish I could have seen more of it, but ain't that just the way? Is it going to be Waters of Dunhollow 4, or is it a new Dunhollow series? So we've gone back and forth on the name. The title for now is just Pools of Dunhollow, but there have been a few other ideas. I'm not sure what they're going to settle on yet. I'm forgetting what they were. One of them was really awesome. Maybe I can find it really quick. Where'd my mouse go? There we go. I might be able to find this. The Dryad's Ransom was my personal favorite. Love that one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They've just chased out most of the bandits. A couple of them got away. There was a child who was mortally wounded. If that type of thing bothers you, I don't know what's in this story. If you're a person who utilizes trigger warnings, there has been an instance of a child being injured, so just keep that in mind going forward. But with that in mind, I suppose there's nothing to it but to get right to it. Settle in, get cozy, settle into whatever task you're going to be doing for today's reading, and we're just going to read and have a nice body doubling time doing stuff. Trolza. The man ran like the wind from the red-haired demon that chased him. That's referring to Ava, the ranger. He'd seen his companion cut down and knew that his only chance lay in the rock-strewn river below. Running to the edge, he leaped on high, trying to clear any tumultuous stones upon the shore, and vanished into the drink. His wound, a nasty cut across his shoulder given him by the mounted warrior, that's Yurik, opened more with the flood of cold water. The river tossed him to and fro. He felt his arm break after being slammed into a boulder, and his foot, too. It rolled him a dozen times in the churning mess, before the river at last cast him up a mile or two down from the thorp, battered and bleeding. He lay there in the mud, his wound partially packed so that the bleeding slowed. Looking up at the heavens, he saw several trees, new in bloom, and the clear blue sky above. He tried to marshal his labored breathing and had some success, only to realize the pain of broken bone, lacerated and bruised flesh. "Whatever were you doing?" a soft voice spoke to him. Like lace it lay upon him. "That's no way to be with a river." A woman rose from the water. She was thin and pale, almost translucent. Her hair hung about her in long, thin, golden strands. She wore a green shift with arms and shoulders bare. Her eyes were pools of water, with no pupils nor any one color, as they changed with the light. The sweet scent of spent flowers lay all about her. She rose from the water with barely a ripple. The bandit looked at her, and his mind could not register what he said. "Help me, lady. Help me, or I'll die here." Die? What is that? You will die here. She walked a few steps forward, her feet still in the water. Kneeling, she looked closer. I cannot die. I can pay. I have a stone. Why can you not die? What is that, to die? And if you cannot, why do you tell me? What is that? She motioned to the wound and the blood. That is my blood, or it was. Now it belongs to the river, I suppose. A sense of doom passed over him as he signed. How, my lady, must I speak? I never wanted to harm your people. People? Harm? Die. There's mud on you. She cupped a handful of water and washed the mud away from the wound. At that, the blood began to flow again, and she stepped back, startled. What are you saying with that spills from your arm so? It is blood, lady, my blood. Can you not see? He coughed violently and lunged forward, choking on his own spent life. Rising to his knees, he fell forward as his ankle gave way, and then his broken arm, so that he plunged half into the water, racked by such a fit that death clouded his vision. The sprightly form leapt back into the water and vanished, only to reappear a moment later, rising slowly so that only her head and mouth rose above the water. She watched him. You are Faye, from the wood. I see now. Listen, I have a stone to give. I'll give it for my life. A stone? She spoke slowly, carefully, a trill to her voice as she held back her laughter. What need have I of a stone? The river's bed is stone. The caves beneath the pools have stones. There are stones even in the bark of the wood. Then, curiously, rising from the water a little more, so that the shift floated up and around her, what stone do you have? She leaned in and took him by scent, lifting the hair from his eyes. Her breath stung him, laced with some potency he could not fathom. Here, lady, in my shirt's pocket. He slipped his hand into it and pulled out a stone the size of an acorn. It shone a brilliant green in the light of the afternoon sun, cut and shaped by a master's hand that captured and cast out the light like nothing she had seen in all her many years. That is pretty. And I may have it? Before he could answer, the sound of a heavy beast came from down the river, moving with deliberate tread beneath a thin brush. The Fae was gone in an instant, vanishing beneath the water with barely a ripple left behind. She surfaced on the far side, recast by the light in shape and form, looking no more than a golden leaf upon the moving water. There you are, friend. Was the swim worth it? Yurik looked down from his horse, holding a branch back from his face. The man fell backward, his life spent, hope now gone. He lay there, panting out his last moments. I have been ruined by blade and fall. You have ruined me. You chose this path. You ruined yourself. I have nothing left. I am to the wretched plains. I have nothing. But you seem an honorable man. Are you? I'll let the first wind judge my honor, not you. Nor take thought to it. Why do you ask? He dropped from the horse and pulled his blade. Your friends, those that lived, hang from a tree downriver. They were no friends of mine. Their deaths are not on me. He spit a little. I have no claim on you, nor reason. He coughed violently for a while. Yurik could see that the end was nigh. He sat down in the mud on the bank of the river and looked out across the water. Something was there. He could not see it, but he could feel it. An evil lay beneath the surface, or on it. I have no claim, but will lay a charge upon you. You can do no such thing, but spend your last moments how you will. I am a lonely man, and will walk that road alone to hell and damnation. This I accept as my fate. He paused to catch his breath. It was a few moments before he spoke again. But my sister, held now in bondage these many years, can make no such claim. Hers is a kindly soul. I would charge you to bring her freedom. Yurik was taken aback by the man's speech and turned his focus upon him, ignoring whatever lay in the water. What do you say? I will pay you. I will pay her bondage fee. He lifted his hand and placed it over the knight's. Opening it, he dropped the stone in his palm. I will pay. He slumped down into the mud, sliding some into the water. Yurik looked at the rock and sighed a deep sigh. He did not linger on questions of why the man had not paid her fee already, why he had not rescued his sister. The paths of the wicked are not reasoned paths. He knew he spoke the truth. He could see that laced in the words the bandit spoke. He raised the stone and held it between his thumb and forefinger, catching the light of the sun. This is a beautiful stone. I've had it too long now, and can't use it for what I planned, for death is upon me. But I charge you, knight, I charge you to go to the town of Roth that lies upon the Roth River and pay her bondage fee. She is held by a merchant named Philenus. Free her, I charge thee. What is her name? My sister. She is my sister. Life began to ebb from his racked body. Her name, boy. Pachel. We called her Pachel. I will see it done. By the first wind I will see it done. Now go on. It is enough lingering here upon the water's edge. With your luck, your last act will cast you far from the wretched plains, and enjoin Heth to usher you to the pools. The brigand looked up at him, and for the briefest moment saw what life could have been had he not been so petty and selfish. But that vision was fleeting, and the pain of death took him as he shuddered from the realm of the living to that of the dead. Yurik looked at him for a moment, then pushed him into the water. As the body floated away, he looked at the stone once more, made note of the girl's name, and put the stone away, forgetting it as quickly. He turned and climbed the bank, took Blue by the lead. He would walk back and take in the fresh air. Behind him, the water swirled and moved, and an unkind face rose from it. She stood there, watching the night depart. That stone, that pretty, pretty stone. She rose from the water on the far bank and shadowed him, flitting from tree to bush to tree, weaving her path through the forest, always keeping her eye on him. Throughout the rest of the afternoon, the fires burned, until after sunset, when the last of the walls fell and snuffed out the greater part of the flame. From then on, it smoldered, flared, and smoldered again, as tongues of fire found new fuel to spark another grasp at life. Ava and Yurik sat upon a rough bench just outside the one remaining house and watched the sunset and the fires struggle. The horses were unsaddled, fed, watered, rubbed down, and in the pen with the livestock. The mule, too. Folkgard wandered around the burning ruin, poking at the fire, tossing in debris that had fallen out. The light from the occasional flare lit his face, shadowing his beard across his bright eyes. What now? We cannot leave these three here in such a state. Aye, my lady, we shall. I had some words with her while you and Folkgard were dragging off the dead. She tells me that the stone bridge is but half a day's walk from here, south past the hanging tree. If I'd gone a little further, I probably would have seen it. Yurik took a long drag off his pipe, the embered tobacco flaring to life for a moment before calming down. Ava pulled one boot off, then the other, setting them aside. She stretched out her legs, letting the cool air brush through her toes before settling them in the grass. And I think we shall take to foot from this point. We'll leave the horses here. Nothing is like to bother... Sorry, I think there's a typo. Nothing is like to bother her or the steed with Blue around. No wild animals, at least. And my guess is there won't be any more bandits or the like anytime soon. That is likely true. Folkguard insisted on setting a message for any would-be travelers. It's not a pretty sight, but it will make most pause before coming too close to this place. A message? She chuckled. Dwarves are a strange people. He no less so. They take their oath of life. What did you call it? The Andanuth? Seriously, I suppose. And harming the innocent is not part of that. All the while we tied the dead to the mule, he cursed and sang dirges. What do you sing? I said. I sing them to the homeless house, he said. They cannot get there the faster. He then propped up their bodies on stakes and rocks and stuffed grass in their mouths. Thus they walk in silence, says he, for no calling for their mothers on the path of the dead, says he. She gazed up at the stars, and failed to notice when some hidden timber caught flame, and sent a small cloud of ash and embers skyward for the wind to send it on their way. I let him alone, as the wolves will likely have at them before long, and what care I for the brigands of the world? Yurik watched the embers floating toward them, and fleetingly he thought of the thatched roof above, but the greater part of the tiny sparks burned out and vanished in the darkness. Only one survived its journey, settling near Ava's feet. He leaned across her and snuffed it out. You need your hair cut, Knight. That I do. It makes wearing that damned helmet. He paused and looked back up the hill. I must remember to get my helmet tomorrow. I picked it up when I rode Scout after the battle. It's with your other gear. You are twice worthy companion, my lady. He laughed as she shook her head, settled back, and joined her in looking up at the stars. After a moment he spoke again. I think we will linger a day. I will bury the lady's dead, and if you would range out and see if aught is on the horizon, we could travel a little more comfort to their safety. I shall. It'll be good to run the paint before pinning her up. You two should rest. I'll tend these flames, and guide them from the house for a while, and keep watch for wolves, bandits, or goblins. Well spoken, friend Folkguard. I am tired after today's exertions, and my wounds, though not deep, yearn for rest. Yurik stood and began to unbuckle his armor. Though I should bathe first and wash this blood off of me, like to frighten that girl child to death. He looked toward the river, and thought of the dead body twirling down its length, careening this way and that. Not tonight. It is too cold for that. Tomorrow, after the dead are laid to rest. He made for the door. Ava scooped up her boots and belt, along with a long knife. Thank you, Folkguard. I'm but a whisper away. And I shall call on you first if danger should spring up upon me, for the Allfather knows Yurik takes his sweet time to waken from his slumbering dreams. Yurik laughed as he passed into the dark house to toss his bedroll on the floor, strip from his armor, and stretch out a few feet from the hearth. Ava lay near him, though with her feet near the fire and knife near to her hand. By afternoon of the following day, Yurik and Folkguard had buried the village's fallen, and with the woman and her child, spoken prayer for their journey upon the path of the dead. Afterward, the knight tended the boy's wounds, cleaning them and placing fresh bandages on them. He spoke prayers of the first wind as he did so. The boy's youth played no small part in his sudden recovery, and by noon he was awake, if in great pain. Ava found Yurik in the river late that afternoon. His gear and sword lay upon the bank. He stood waist deep, using a soft stone to wash away the grime, dirt, sweat, and blood. "How is it out there, my lady? Have we orcs or goblins to contend with?" "Nothing so far as I can see." She stripped away her armor and undergarments to join him in the water. She too carried the road's hard grime on her, as well as ash from the fires and blood from yesterday's fight. She vanished beneath the waters and came up some feet from where the current picked up, wiping the hair back away from her face. "I ranged a dozen miles out and swept in an arc around the thorp from riverbank to riverbank. There is no sign but the bandits' trail that led them to the thorp. No trail either that these people use. They're secluded here and intentionally hide themselves." "That is good. We can travel easier now." "Aye." She paused, and slowly turning, she looked at the forest across the river. She stared for a long while, the cool waters cascading past her, pulling her hair with a gentle tug. Yurik continued to wash himself, seemingly oblivious to her stillness. In truth, he had grown used to it, and trusted her such that he felt at ease when she watched. "That is the Dunhollow Wood?" Looking across the river, he spoke with little concern. "It is. Pleasant enough in the day. It is at night that it is dangerous." Though she could not see anything, she could feel the eyes upon them. Too long she had dwelt in the darkened fold, that massive haunted wood to the south, to not know the Fae when they crossed her path. Wringing her hair out, she swam to her clothes, retrieving her knife. Holding it up high to catch the light of the sun, she said loudly, "Good for cutting hair and flesh." Yurik looked at her, somewhat taken aback by her beauty. "Lord, woman, if I am your target, then let's keep it to the hair only." "I told you, you needed a haircut." Deftly, she cut the hair from the top of his head and let it float down the river. She shaved it tight to his scalp, leaving only a short tuft upon the top of his head. He watched as the hair floated down the river. "Thank you, my lady. I was about to do that myself." She paid little heed to him, but watched the far side of the bank. Whatever watched them moved on. From fear or other happenstance she could not say. Finishing the night's cut, she moved to the bank and her clothes. Washing off the last of the cut hair, he too joined her on the bank. Once dressed and booted, he turned to her. "Now we ride, or walk. Mayhap the lady will be safe here on her own, and we can ride south." "We'll walk, my knight, we'll walk." Laughing, he followed her up the bank. Neither of them saw the sylvan figure slip into the water. She crossed the river with amazing speed. She rose in the midst of a twisting current and took hold of some of the hair caught there. "No stone this, but something of yours, friend Yurik." Taking the hair in hand, she vanished beneath the waters, letting the current take her downriver, staring all the while at the hair in hand, but dreaming of emerald green stones. By mid-morning they came to the hanging tree. The bodies of all three men hung there still, somewhat worked over by the crows, but otherwise undisturbed. Ava looked them over, but Folkguard paid them no heed. The day was clear but cool. Though spring lay upon the land, it was still early yet, and the winds carried the memory of winter with them. The nights in particular were cold, but the days were as well. The sky remained a clear blue, much as it had for days now, with few clouds and little offering of rain. The grass had already turned a lush green, and its spongy form made the walk easy. There was only a small trail that the villagers must have made, walking the river for stone, wood, and to fish. But the party did not use it. Rather, they walked a few hundred feet away from the river, in the sun-dappled grass. Ava did not care for the sun much, and walked beneath the eave of the trees. She did so until she saw a strange shape pass her in the river. No fish, nor swimming turtle, but human-like. She saw it only for a moment, and it vanished, merging with the light in the water. It felt familiar, and she remembered it from the day before, just beyond the river's banks. Taking a cue from it, she moved back out in the open and walked with her companions. No reason to taunt whatever it was. The morning passed peacefully until the country began to lift, and they began a slightly steeper walk upward. The bridge... Sorry, it's another typo. The bridge rose into view suddenly and without pretense. No road led to it from the east. It just was, suddenly rising from the east bank to climb above the river and dip down again to the far side and the forest wall. The spans, each about 50 or so feet wide, stood on 3 cutwaters, with tall arch rings connecting one to the other, the first and last to the shores. On either shore, large abutments grounded the bridge, marking its beginning and end. The parapet was tall, 3 feet at least, and there were 4 pedestrian refuges, 2 on either side, in all its 200-foot length. There was little undergrowth on the bridge, no detritus upon it, and seemed as if it had been built only recently. By the brass halls! That's a wonder in these wilds. Who built this thing? My kin alone could manage this, if not them, the giants who they say play in stone in the mountains that lie to the west. Folkgard moved forward with veiled excitement and some reverence. Surely it was your people, my friend. Long ago, when these lands offered roads from one realm to the next. Those were wondrous times, they say, as the world was fresh and new and the long sorrows lay before us and not behind. But, unlike the stone we work, they are gone to us. Ava stopped and looked across the river to the far bank, where the bridge slipped beneath the trees. She could see no road, but saw a pattern of growth that told her where the road lay in times past. I do not know who built this bridge. I've heard no legend to its manufacture. It has been here a long time. It stood here even before the winter dark and the rule of the Horned God. Folkgard walked up the span, feeling the stone of the parapet. When he got to the first pedestrian's refuge, he stopped and walked into it, looking down to the left and right. The cutwaters and abutments were in good shape, but weathered, the river slowly eating away at them. He could see where once they were sharp on their edge, but now had dulled. I am no stonemason, though some stand in the line of my people before me, so cannot say with iron in my words, but the stone worked here is unfamiliar. It does not look like dwarven work. This looks like a bridge made by the hand of a rune wizard, a rune mark. Someone treated the stone as the giants treat stone. They shaped it to take a form it did not possess when the mountains made it. He looked across the length of it to the forest. But why here? I have no answer for that, good dwarf. Wizards are solipsistic creatures, and it lies beyond my reckoning to unravel them. I've traveled with a few and do not miss their company overmuch. A priest now. A priest is a good companion. Unless they fall for the love of a dryad and find home in her sylvan realm, as dear Gregory has done. Ava walked past them both, moving toward the far side. Ah, well, what is one to do in the face of such beauty and kindness? Yurik shouldered the pack he had just set down and followed the ranger. Folkgard looked on the stone for a few moments more, taken with its strange feel and structure. To most, it looked as any stone bridge, but to the dwarf, it bore the echoes of ancient spans over deep fissures far beneath the dome of the sky. He hefted his bearded axe and followed the other two. Our journey has taken us so far, I often forget it has some other purpose. You're not alone in that, Yurik laughed. They made their way down off the bridge to the west bank of the Troll Run River and the eaves of the Dunhollow Wood. They stood in an open, small field, surrounded by tall oaks, with a smattering of beech trees in their midst. Here and there, a red bed bloomed, and one tall dogwood, whose white flowers lifted to the sun, lay not far beyond the river's edge. The sun's warmth had just begun to touch them on the plains, but here it was cool again, and gave respite from the walk. No wind blew. There was little brush as well, just an open forest before them, with little in the way of depression or cut, just a simple, flat, tree-covered plain. You say the pools lie to the south, upon the slopes of the mountains? I can see the memory of a road here, but it goes north. No. Whatever directions I have given you are confused. This path leads north to the pools. They lay south of the Sorgen River, but north of the Troll Tongue. They should not be more than a 3 or 4 day walk. At least, that's how I remember it. That will make this easier. She looked into the wood and back again to the open beyond the bridge. Perhaps I should make this run alone. I can move faster without you two and fetch these waters easier. Then we can be on our way back to Gregory's home in the Dryad Tree. No, Ava. That is a path fraught with danger. 5 of us entered this wood before, and only 2 came out again. The others lay upon that green sward somewhere. If you were to fall afoul of some evil, we would not know it, and even if some message came to us through a miracle of wizardry, we'd never be able to find you. She smiled. So be it. Then let us move on a few miles into this haunted wood and see what it might hold. Indeed. Let us push for the sod house of my youth and see if it still stands. Or if at least the ruins of it can give us shelter from whatever haunts these woods. Ava took the lead, shouldering her pack. In her left hand she bore her bow and 3. Her right she kept free for rapid fire. It just says bow and 3, but I think it means her bow and 3 arrows. Her right she kept free for rapid fire. She flung the heavy, faded blue cloak behind her, draping it on her pack to make sure it stayed out of her way. Her hair was pinned in a bun behind her. So thick was it that it rested on the pack. Folkgard followed next. His pack was the smallest, for dwarves were stout and weathered the loss of food and water better than any other of the people of Aird. He took with him only a sleeping roll, some hardtack, a flask, rope and grapple, tinder, and some other odds and ends. His axe he bore cased upon his shoulder. His double-bladed sword hung closely at his side. Yurik brought up the rear, burdened by a larger pack, but more so by his chain and plate, helm and shield. His long sword he wore at his side, and his axe was slung across and strapped to his back. Easy enough to pull out once the pack hit the ground. He walked at ease, however, for it was in him that whatever evil lingered near, he could sense it. They traveled thus in silence for the better part of a mile, until Ava came up short upon a small berm that lay across the road. Beyond it, a soft, talking stream babbled its way to the north and east. She squatted and looked around here. She touched the ground and smelt the air. This forest is strange. Very strange. It seems pristine. As if the trees were here. As if the trees grow here undisturbed by axe or fire. But it feels like death. It tastes like the smell of death. It is haunted by the dead, if that is what you mean. Who's dead? Folkgard cut in. Ava looked back at the two and abruptly stopped, looking beyond Yurik the way they came. She spoke absently. That is a good question. Dropping his pack and finding purchase on some deadfall, Yurik pulled his flask and drank a long, slow drink. The tormented dead of the trolls. As you know, the trolls sprang from the first trees to walk the world. Eneng, the first of their kind, settled not far from here in the Shadow Mountains, and there reigned in spite for many years, building dungeons upon dungeons deep under the earth. Though he left long before the kingdoms of men, to what end few can say, and certainly not me. His kind have always seen those mountains as holy ground. So it is they settled here of old, making war on any to pass through this country. Some of that ilk settled north of this wood and the Kleberrock Pass, in the castle of Night, or so it is called by their lord, he who sits upon the elephant's back. The dwarves call it different. They style it the Rack of Misery. I've heard some call it Hate's Reservoir, Marrowdown as well. It bears many such names by many peoples. They dwelt there for many long years, even before the winter dark, and delved deep into the rock of the mountain upon which their home sits. Those who fell to their machinations, they hauled into the deep holes beneath their slag, and bent and broke them, using iron, fire, racks, other such devices. Few escaped, and most died in torment. The legend, though, speaks of such torment that it bound the souls of the dead to the lands of Ursal, to these lands. Such was their pain that it held them to task, held them here. Their spirits drifted without purpose or knowledge of anything but their own suffering. Many found their way to Dunhollow, to these deep woods where only the Fae dwelt. It is their souls that drift in patches and fogs and roam the night of the Dunhollow. He looked about, some little concern in his expression, but more acceptance of what must be. Do you believe these tales? The dwarf looked skeptical, but being of the Allfather's chosen people, his view of the afterlife took him on different roads. I do. I do believe I have encountered spirits here, whose pained suffering is such that their minds are not but a reflection of the evil of their tormentors. It is sad and dangerous when the dead walk the lands of the living. And the trolls and the Fae, are these too dwelling in these woods? The trolls dwell in their heap to the north still, I believe, though I have not gone so far as to see their towered slag of a home. They come to these lands seldom, for their numbers were greatly diminished in the Winterdark Wars, or so the histories relate. But the Fae, yes, they dwell here too, in some numbers, I think. You'll see their power manifest in rings and lights. You may see their totems, and the telltale sign of their passage. We must be careful here, and pay them when we may, and ignore them if we can. Ava looked at him then. What did you do? What? Oh. What did you do? What? Yurik, something watches us. It is the same thing I felt watching us when we bathed, and the day before as well. When you hung those men, did you do something odd that might conjure a Fae's wrath? I do not know. I do not think so. They pleaded some lying nonsense, and I hung them quickly and with mercy. Then perhaps we drew its attention while in the water. Perhaps. Ah. Wait. While I spoke to that wounded bandit on the bank, I did feel eyes upon me. Or rather, evil in the water. Evil thought, not being, I suppose. I thought nothing of it. What wounded bandit? The one you said jumped into the river. When I came back from the hanging, I spied him in the water, leaning into it, talking to himself. I paid him a visit. A visit? Folkgard broke in. Yorick, friend, you talk too much to these people. Yorick laughed. Too true, too true. He was talking to himself? Ava kept her eyes behind them. So it seemed to me. What were you talking to him about? Oh, what were you talking to him about? The dwarf grounded his axe and leaned on it. Could he have been talking to something in the water? The evil you spoke of? Ava interrupted the dwarf. Well, yes, I suppose. Seems unlikely. Then to Folkgard. He produced a stone and begged me to use it to pay his sister from bondage. He had it in his hand, must have been clutching it. He trailed off, reliving the encounter. May I see the stone? Folkgard now grew curious. Yorick fished in his pouch. Mayhap I was not the first he offered the stone to. He pulled the emerald green stone from his pocket and held it aloft for both to see. The dwarf gasped slightly, and Ava sprang down. She spoke first. Did you hear it? A sound, a voice. What? No. Yes, I heard Folkgard gasp, is that what you mean? That is a beautiful rock. Well cut and worth a king's wage, or I'm a fool. Something is out there, Yorick. Someone. And it knows that stone. Leave it here and let the Fae have it, and we'll have no trouble with it, for it will forget we ever came this way. I cannot do that, my lady. I promised the thief I would buy his sister's passage to freedom. And this stone is all the wealth we have. Ava looked at him for a long moment, seeing the good in him, the kindness around his eyes, a genuine drive to do as honor demands, an honor defined by truth and setting wrongs to right. You are a rare breed, my knight, she sighed, for she knew the peril that lay in the Fae and the trouble this would bring. We'll find some other way to pay this Fae, or this girl's freedom. Folkgard saw in Yorick much what Ava did, but finished her unspoken thought. Unbidden such creatures came to the world of the Allfather's making. Indeed, that can be said of all of the Val Ericune. We can send it back from whence it came, but come, the day plays out. We'll lose sun before long, and you'll want to eat and warm yourselves by a fire. Ava skipped across the stream and moved on down the unseen path. The others followed, though not so adeptly. I think that might be a good place for us to end for tonight, I think. I am loving this story so far. When Steve first told me about the Yorick and Ava stories, he said that they were love stories, and I'm now seeing, like, the chemistry between Yorick and Ava and the development of their friendship with Folkgard. It's awesome. Thanks, Ralph. I appreciate you hanging out and tuning in, doing all the good stuff. Here is another link to the Kickstarter for the World Builder. We're in our final 2 days. It ends on the 10th. And if we hit 250,000, our final stretch goal, then we unlock the final book, and I'm very excited about it. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. I'm just dropping the link in Twitch chat. And I think that we'll just kind of go ahead and toss a raid to somebody. My buddy Snickle is on, so let's go raid him. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll be back again live tomorrow with Steve. I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff. No doubt, I'm sure, the Kickstarter. Thanks so much, Vlad Rocker. It's really great to see you. This is always one of the highlights of my week, and I love doing these, so thank you all for hanging out. But yeah, if you have a second to hang out in Snickle's chat and just say hi, and like one compliment about the stream, that means a lot to people. It really brightens their day when folks raid in and like say nice stuff. So if you got a second to spare, just one nice thing about a stream, that's your homework. And we will be back here, same bat time, same bat place next Monday. On Wednesday at Hearth Coven Games. Hearth Coven Games is the name of the Twitch channel. We will be playing Curse of Strahd and having a great time doing it. My boyfriend is lurking in the distance, menacingly. Hang on. This is what I have to deal with. So we are going to raid. Thank you all again. I appreciate it. This was super fun. Go in peace. Make the words do good. I will see you next time. Goodbye.